is truly a great pleasure and a privilege to propose a keynote to this remarkable occasion, the occasion of awarding the Luxembourg Peace Prizes. Luxembourg associated with European institutions like the famous Grand Prix and other things that people know about, but they had not known until recently that Luxembourg is also the host of a World Peace Prize. And it's a great step because the Peace Prize, unlike other events based on competition, is not based on trying to put oneself first forward against others. It's the Peace Prize meant to celebrate initiatives where we can all work together to create peace in the world. Extremely important task. Let me say a few words about it. First of all, what it is that we propose. What is that concept that I think is the key to lasting, enduring, and dependable peace in the world? It's a very big claim, I know. And then I like to say why that particular goal is elusive. Why aren't we pursuing it actively? And why is in danger that it escapes us? And finally, I'd like to say what we are doing about it. So this is my program, and I'll just spend a few minutes on each one of them. The concept that I maintain is a key to lasting peace in this world and in any world of life and complexity in this universe. It is coherence. But coherence, not just simple coherence. Coherence, what is known as supercoherence. Let me say what that is. Coherence is what is necessary for any set of elements, whether they are atoms or molecules or organisms or families or countries or galaxies, for them to work together, to maintain themselves. That means they have to be coherent with each other. But there are two kinds of this kind of coherence. One means internal to the systems. These systems must be coherent themselves. That means healthy, viable. Every part of them must be coordinated, coherent with, and collaborated with every other part. That is intrinsic coherence, and it's a key to health. That is actually a sign, an indication of true organic health. But the health alone in this world is not maintainable. We are not alone in this world. We are embedded in a larger sphere. We are embedded with other systems that also are trying to be coherent, also trying to survive and flourish in this world. And we need to be coherent with each other. And that is external, or I prefer to say extrinsic coherence. So we need to have intrinsic as well as extrinsic coherence. And these two coherence together guarantee the viability, the survivability, the flourishing of complex systems on this planet. Supercoherence indeed. We know what it is in principle, but we are far from attaining it in practice. How can attain supercoherence? Fortunately, it's not up to our conscious will alone. Our conscious will has to focus our efforts. But we are coded for coherence, for supercoherence. We would not be here after all these millions of years of evolution. We would not be here unless we participate in the great evolution of this world toward higher and higher levels of coherence. Physicists find incredible levels of coherence among the parameters of the universe. Biologists find how every living system is so coherent that it's undescribable practically. If we will try to create a coherent system artificially, trying it, no matter how fast we would do it, the age of the universe will not be long enough to achieve that. Everything is working together. We are part of a coherence-oriented world. Unfortunately, the human species, in the past few hundred years, especially the past few decades, has increasingly opted out of this natural form of coherence, of participation in the world, opted for specific ways, feeling and saying that if we can't adapt ourselves, or we don't need to adapt ourselves to the world around us, because we can adapt the world around us to ourselves. This kind of compensation through technology, through artificial means, is a noble enterprise. Unfortunately, it doesn't substitute for natural forms of coherence. Those natural forms are much more complex. We could never redo them by artificial means. So we need both. We need the basis in our sense of oneness, in our sense of belongingness in this world. And we need the technologies, the consciousness of how to further this coherence, so it becomes real, so it becomes expressed, so it allows us and other forms of life around us to survive, to flourish. That is a great task before us. Let me just say, this is a very critical task at this time. It's a crucial task. Because we are in the midst of what is known in the system sciences, and I've described it many, many times, in the midst of a bifurcation. Bifurcation simply means that when you have a trajectory of evolution of a system, it moves in a certain way, step by step by step. After a while, it reaches a critical point where that trajectory breaks down. Either the system then collapses, it dissolves, decoheres to its more primitive components, or it finds another path to move forward. We are in the midst of this bifurcation process, and we are facing the choice between breakdown and breakthrough. We are fortunate because we also have on our side a faculty that not in this, in some respect, yes, but not in this level, or this degree, other species do not have. I mean consciousness. We are consciousness of what is happening. We can try to guide what is happening. We can try to make ourselves more coherent. We can try to achieve super coherence. We are doing that, but we need to do it with the larger goal, the overall context in mind. We are part of the evolution of life on this planet, an intrinsic part of it. If we move out of it, move against it, we do so at our own risk. Could be that we can survive for a while because we keep compensating for our shortfalls. But eventually the environment hits back. We are beginning to see how the climate is beginning to hit back. There are so many indications: poverty, levels of stress, violence, the ability to respond to each other, not in a spirit of cooperation, but in a spirit of competition. All of these are elements that endanger our life, the future of life on Earth. So here we are. We are needing to strive for coherence, for super coherence, using our natural instincts and orienting our technologies, our purposive endeavors, which are very sophisticated and very powerful, but oriented not toward just one or just to a set, but toward all. We could say that what is good for one is not necessarily good for all, depending how you look at that one, because sometimes that one can be overdeveloped, can be at the expense of other parts of that whole system. But that is good for the whole system is necessarily good for every part of it. We are all part of this total system. And that is what you need to keep in mind. That is our focal point. How to create a coherent system of life on this planet. We need to revise our strategies. No longer putting ourselves first, no longer just competing. Learning from biology and the new cosmology, which shows that cooperation is much stronger and much more decisive than competition, because it does not issue in violence on aggression. It requires and is based on understanding, empathy, Finally, we need to understand that. Primitive cultures have known that. Instinctive people, young people know it to this day. We need to recognize it's a fact of life. We need to live, to work, to evolve together, or we won't evolve at all. We can very easily destroy ourselves and destroy the conditions for higher forms of life on this planet. So here we are, on the midst of a bifurcation. What are we going to do about it? Let me just say a few words more concretely. What we at the Club of Budapest are proposing to do, it is something that any organization, any group of people, hopefully a little bit organized, can also try to do. And when we all do it together, then we have a good chance of achieving it. That means trying to make ourselves coherent, our organizations coherent. You know, the great famous saying of Gandhi is, make yourself the change that you'd like to see in the world. I would say, make yourself the coherence that you'd like to see in the world. Now, the Club of Budapest has created an international network of national and regional clubs dedicated to the same basic aim, a new consciousness, a planetary consciousness, common goals of striving and survival for all people, for all societies on Earth. It's an ancient goal, but we've never been so critically needed as now. So these 24 clubs are being now asked to constitute themselves into SCSs, CSCs more exactly, CSCs, Centers of Super Coherence. That means they try their best to measure, to investigate, to test how coherent they are within the organization, with each other, how well cooperative they are. And then how coherent is that organization, a national club, with other clubs, and with other organizations, not just inside the Club of Budapest, but anywhere. This is something we can all do. We can all try to be the change that we want to see. Because, to use another famous saying, this time by Margaret Mead, who said, never doubt the power of a small group of people to change the world. And she added, nothing else ever did. Yes, but we have to add, there are some preconditions for that. A small group of people can change the world when the world has become critically unstable, destabilized, near a crisis point. That condition is being met. The growth of crisis, the growth of sense of need for change, openness to change is growing in the world. Ever more people are asking themselves, can we be part of that critical mass that will change the world? So that condition is there. But there are other conditions as well. That small group has to be very well connected to each other and to nature. It has to try to be itself super coherent. Then it will influence others. If it could be just a matter of physical, biological, very overt kind of influences, I think the chances would be very small of making a real impact. But we know that through our mind, through our consciousness, through our whole living being, we are connected in many more ways than the known biological and physiological ways to each other. We are part of each other through entanglement, through non-locality. These terms come from physics, but young people know it as oneness, as expressed in love. So these are elements that will spread in the world. Because it's not to quote another famous scientist, Erwin Schrödinger, the great physicist, who said, there is no such thing as consciousness in the plural. There is only one consciousness in the world, and we are all part of it. It's a kind of a hologram. We are all holographic projections of that consciousness. And as in a hologram, when any one projection is changing, is impacted on, is interacted with, then all the other projections are changing, because they are all projections of the same thing, of the same hologram. So we really truly can, through our consciousness, change the consciousness that dominates, that governs the world. That is our big chance. And that is the big step forward. The idea that Victor Hugo said, which is more powerful than anything else in the world. Certainly more powerful than military measures. More powerful even than well-conceived economic measures, although those are absolutely necessary. But if we miss on this, then we won't make it into a coherent world where we can strive together. Recover ourselves, recover our coherence, recover our belongingness to the world around us. That is the task before us. We in the Club of Budapest are dedicated to this. Over 20 years ago, we created a manifesto on the planetary consciousness, and there we spelled it out very clearly, together with the Dalai Lama, that the new consciousness is the sine qua non, is the absolute necessity for moving forward in this world. We have the ability to be conscious agents of evolution. Let us be that. We can do so, and with events such as the present, the Luxembourg Peace Prize Laureates, we can call attention to what is needed and ask people to join. It is not too late. Let us join together. We can make it. But the time is pressing. Thank you for your attention.